I rise to speak in support of the many amendments that I've signed, and indeed any other amendment that would make this legislation unrecognisable from its current form, because fundamentally it's so wrong we shouldn't even be debating it. I'm proud to declare both my membership of Unite the Union and refer to my register of members' interest for support from other unions. Just say the party opposite continues to talk about our trade unions with such contempt, as if they're some separate class of people. My good friend, the Honourable Member for Wansbeck, put it absolutely right when he said that they are just ordinary people. They are the representatives of working people in this country, and the government benches would do well to put some respect on their name. Now, you'll find no shame on this side of the House, and I think my honourable friend, the member for Lucian Deptford, put it quite right, because trade union money is the cleanest money in society, and perhaps there's a lot more shame on the other side of the House, or maybe it's just that if we were to spend all our time going through all of your murky interests, or all of members opposite's murky interests, thank you, all of members opposite's murky interests, we would be here for some time and wouldn't get to hear their speeches. So what do our trade unions say about this bill? They called this bill undemocratic, unworkable and illegal, and they're rightfully considering legal action if it passes, because this bill, as you've heard time and time again, likely breaches Article 11 of the International Labour Association. But we've seen that this government has absolutely no issue with breaking international law. Now, I was shocked, Dame Rosie, to find myself agreeing with a fraction of something said by the Right Honourable Member for North East Somerset. But he didn't arrive at the conclusion that he would vote against this bill, which I couldn't quite understand. And he lost me when he started to have his blanket acceptance of Henry VIII powers. Now, basic British primary school education would tell you that Henry VIII wasn't a particularly democratically minded man or reasonable one. So in a modern democratic society, there is no place for such powers or such men. And how many times have we seen them recently used in piece of legislation from this government? Far from being an exception, they've become a rule. And it's also become the rule that this government failed to publish impact assessments. It's just bad practice from a bad government which knows its bad policies will impact some of the most vulnerable people in our society. And actually, we've passed legislation in a day when we've needed to, and the legislation being passed at the moment is being done at an unusual speed anyway. So why do we need these types of powers? And also, to put quite clearly, our constituents don't send us here for a small group of people from the party opposite to make all of the laws in this country unchecked. Now, Dame Rosie, I wanted to go over some of the claims that ministers have made about this bill. Ministers have claimed that other countries have similar agreements, curbing strikes, curbing strikes, and that kind of idea needs debunking, because yes, and I'll use Italy as an example, and others do have such agreements, but the context is very different, because anti-trade union laws here are far more severe than in other countries, as are the sanctions for breaking the agreements. In Italy, you can lose the equivalent of 2 hours' pay. In this country, it could mean losing your jobs and your livelihood if you are blacklisted, and with no recourse to unfair dismissal. And our unions could face unlimited fines. Another claim is that it was a 2019 Conservative manifesto commitment. Well, so was providing the resources that our public services need and the recruitment of additional doctors and nurses. When exactly are the party opposite going to meet those commitments? The reality is our public services are in crisis, and medical professionals are leaving in droves, forced out by understaffing and falling real terms pay. The Tories have no mandate for this bill because, again, the 2019 Conservative manifesto has only one reference to minimum service levels, and it's as follows. It says, we will require that a minimum service operates during transport strikes. There is nothing at all about these being imposed on NHS workers or firefighters or other workers in the future, which is exactly what the government want to do today. In addition, the sole paragraph dealing with minimum service levels goes on to say, rail workers deserve a fair deal, but it's not fair to let trade unions undermine the livelihood of others. It's not true in the slightest that the government, which interferes so blatantly in the current dispute, is providing a fair deal for rail workers, or that they undermine the livelihood or safety of others in their strikes. It's not just pay and conditions that our trade unions are striking for. It's because of the poor levels of service that the government have driven their sectors to. Now, pay freezes have also been imposed, even though the cumulative rise in consumer price inflation over the last 2 years to November has been over 16%. Official projections from the Office for Budget Responsibility suggest that real pay will fall again in 2023 unless there is a big pay rise. Now, I don't want to spend all my time talking about the Conservative manifesto, because you can imagine it's not my favourite document, but the Honourable Member, and so the Honourable Member for Crewe and Nantwich was asking about what was going to be in our manifesto, and actually my good friend, the Honourable Member for Middlesbrough, laid that out quite well. But if members opposite want to hear more about what's going to be in the Labour Party manifesto, they should encourage the other colleagues to join a general election so that we can give them one and they can have a good read of it. Now, the government claims that there's no money left, or that their miserly pay offers are the work of an independent pay review body, and this has already been widely exposed as incorrect. The review bodies have their entire terms set by the government, and ministers have found hundreds of millions in funds to subsidise the rail companies for strike losses. In fact, ministers have admitted that it would have been cheaper for them to settle the dispute. This shows the government's real aim is to break trade unions, but they will not be broken. They have the support of people right across this country, and if you continue to attempt to restrict the right to strike, all you're going to have on your hands is more strikes. And Dame Rosie, if we saw this happening in anywhere else in the world, we would be outraged, we would call it draconian, undemocratic, evidence of a dictatorial regime. This government should be ashamed of itself. They style themselves as espousing the best of British values, but they would undermine one of the most fundamental British rights, all because they've lost the argument. Now, let's make no mistake, they have lost the argument on pay and conditions, which is why teachers, nurses, train drivers, physios, firefighters and others are all striking or set to strike. They are doing this because disputes are being won right across the country, and they don't want to see any more wins from our trade unions. Now, this unprecedented situation is no ringing endorsement of this government, but further evidence that it's time that they leave office and take their shoddy legislation with them.